Hi everybody, it's Donna Robertson with Fabric Cafe. We're going to give you a couple of seconds to join us and we'll start right at 4 o'clock. If I can pay attention and know exactly when right at 4 o'clock. Oh, it is 4 o'clock now, isn't it? Welcome to the Virtual Quilt Show. We're so glad that you joined us today, and we're going to be talking about how to choose your pattern for the fabrics that you have. Have you ever bought a fabric and then after you bought it you thought, oh, which quilt pattern would this look best in? And should this go in a big block or should it go in a small block? So I'm going to show you a couple of things here, one of which is a little tool that you can make for yourself if you want. I asked John to make this for me, so John's going to come over here. And it's simply two pieces of, what's this called?
Cardstock.
Cardstock.
Like a poster board.
Poster board, that was the word I was looking for.
You know, like a 60-cent poster board from Walmart.
Right. So you want to measure it out. Maybe I should let John tell you how he did this. But you make two of these L-shaped pieces out of your poster board. And we just used an X-Acto knife. That's something that you can get at your...
or a box knife.
Right. At an art store or a packaging store or something like that. You can get a box knife at Home Depot or Lowe's, something like that. But you make this L-shaped piece, and we recommend that you make it at least 12 inches. None of my quilt blocks are bigger than 12 inches for the main fabric. After you get through cutting these two pieces out, then you want to put your inch marks. So from this corner to here is 1 inch. From this corner to here is 12 inches. And these are identical. You've got two different pieces here. Now the purpose of this is so that you can play on top of your fabric and decide what size block you think you would like to use. I'm going to show you some examples of quilts with the different sizes of blocks. Some of them are probably the most popular that I use whenever I'm designing, because it helps your fabric go further so you get a bigger quilt when you use these sizes of blocks. So let's get started with that now. First of all, how do you know what size block each pattern has? Because I do a lot of strip piecing, there will be a little bit of a trick to this whenever you start looking for your block sizes. Let's start with the patterns. This is Pinwheel Plus One. We'll be showing you that quilt in just a little bit. If you look at your cutting instructions, we normally put your largest fabric in the number 1 spot of your quilt. So if you look at this one, it says cut 3 to 7.5 by width of fabric, and from each of these strips you're going to cut 5 7.5 by 7.5 inch blocks. Now that block is going to be right up here, John. That is going to be your large block, and that's your number 1 fabric. So that's how you find it if you're looking at a paper pattern. Let's say you're looking at a book. It would be basically the same way. You just look at your fabric number 1, and it says cut 4 8-inch times width of fabric, and from these strips you cut so many block A. So that's how you'll find your block if it's a specific size. Now sometimes they're pieced blocks, and we're going to be talking about some of those as well as we get a little bit further into our little virtual quilt show. So I'm going to set these aside. And then I didn't say this, but you also want one straight piece like this, and we'll show you how to use that in just a little bit. So out of the center or the sides of your poster board, you'll want to make one piece that's like this. And this is fairly stiff, so it'll be able to be used for quite a while.
The board that we're actually using is a mat board, like photo framing.
Oh, a mat board,
so
okay.
This one is quite a bit heavier than a poster board that you would get at your local discount store.
Gotcha. All right, we're going to start with this. This is a quilt kit that's on our website. Let's turn it around so the kitties are going the right way. This is on our website, and this is the whole kit. It's called Kitty Love, and I'll show you the fabrics. Aren't those cute?
And Fran actually showed an example of this 2 weeks ago on Friday, was it?
Yes, 2 weeks
And
ago
she
Friday.
showed making a pillow using the chenille by the inch.
And she used the Perfect Pets pattern. Now I need to reach right over here and get my book. And we'll turn over here to Perfect Pets. This is the pattern that Fran used, and these are the kitties that are appliqued on the blocks. Now this particular one, your block is going to be cut 10.5 by 10.5. Now every time you see that the block is 10.5 by 10.5 or 7.5 by 7.5, you will drop your 1/2 inch because that's going to disappear. It'll be in your seam allowance. But these blocks are 10.5 by 10.5. So depending on which fabric you select for your kitty fabric that's right here, you'll want to use your 2 pieces. And I recommend that you start on your quilt selvage. The reason I do that is because most of my quilts are made with strip piecing or utilizing the whole width of the fabric. Oh dear. Yes, let me get that.
We need a bigger table.
So ignoring this and taking our 10.5 and dropping off a 1/2 inch, we're going to put it right here on the edge, and we put one like this, and let's go ahead and move it down to the bottom. All right.
So we're putting that 10-inch mark right
Down
on the edge
close.
of the fabric.
I'm putting it down close, so it's right on the edge of your selvage. You put your 10-inch there. You take your other L and you turn it around, and then you slide this down until your 10 here and your 10-inch there match. So there is what you will see, whoops, in a 10-inch block. So see, I've got the 10 lined up here and the 10 lined up there, and now you can see what a 10-inch block would look like. So that's pretty cool, isn't it? All right, now what if you wanted to do a quilt and you said, but it's only 5 inches? Then you would just slide this down to your 5-inch mark, and then you would take this and you would put it on your 5-inch mark here. And see, your kitty doesn't show up quite as much. So this is how you can decide whether you want to put it in this pattern or that pattern according to the size block that you're going to be making. So that's a really cool and easy way to do that. And like I said, this is a kit that's on our website, but I don't have a quilt to show you with this particular fabric. We'll move this over and put it over here. Now the next one that I'm going to show you is called Puppy Love, and this is about as cute as it can be. And it is also recommending the Perfect Pets. So we're talking about that 10-inch block that you'll be making. Let's turn this around. Isn't that cute? Cute puppies. So you turn it like this, and again, we're going to ignore the selvage, and because it's a 10-inch block, we're just going to cover up the selvage. We'll move it down to 10, and I'm moving it not quite to the edge because I know you might be trimming this to make it go be even. So now we're going to take our L, and we take our 10-inch and our 10-inch and match it up there, and our 10-inch and our 10-inch here. Now you can see that the puppies are going to look like that in your quilt if you put it in one of the 10-inch blocks. Now if you wanted to make this one be a 5-inch, let's move it over and see what happens. So we're going to match up our 5-inch and our 5-inch, and you know, you could get away with that because it does show lots of the puppy faces. You're never going to get every one of them because they stagger them in the print, but you would get a pretty good look with that. But what if we went to a 7-inch? Because a lot of our patterns use 7-inch. Oh, you can see a lot more. So that's the way you use this particular tool. So that, and this particular kit is called not Kitty Love, but Puppy Love. All right. Next on our list, let me put these over here. I'm going to show you some florals, and we're going to start with some small sized blocks, and then we're going to build up to some bigger blocks to show you. And each one of them, I'm going to show you how it will look different if you cut it small or if you cut large. So this is going to give you some good ideas of your cutting and how you go about choosing. This particular one is called Skip to My Lou, and it's in the Easy Peasy book, and it actually has 4 inches in the block. I'm going to put these 2 fabrics over here so you can see them. Love this quilt. And then I'm going to show you the quilt. Okay, here's the quilt top. And that's a 4-inch block. So each one of those blocks is 4 inches. And you can see how much of a flower that shows up with that particular one. And this is strip pieced, so it's super easy for you to cut your quilt and piece it fast. All right, so we'll take that off. So we're going to look at a 4-inch block. Now, if you're strip piecing, let's get this moved down to about there. And then, whoops, got to go this way. And then we're going to put our 4-inch right here. And you can see about what you would see once you've sewn this together. It was cut 4 1/2, and now we've left off the 1/2 inch and just looked at 4 inches. Now the cool thing is, because we are doing strip pieces, you can just move this over and you can go ahead and check to see, and we're going to move it so that we can go over to there, and you can see what you're going to get out of that strip piece item. And you can go, well, I really like that. Or once again, maybe you want to go to something larger. Let's do a 7-inch. I thought this one did really well because it was a spaced out flower, so I thought it looked great in that 4-inch. But you could do 7-inch. You might do a 9-inch block. And again, we're matching our 9 on this and our 9 on that, and there's your block at 9 inches. The original quilt I made was 4 inches. And I showed you the pretty fabric in this quilt. And it is called Pansy Patch, $29. And it uses the Skip to My Lou in the Easy Peasy book. Next, we're going to show you sheep. This is a good one to see how this is doggy. All right. Now these are the sheep fabric. We're using the topsy-turvy pattern out of the children's book. And again, we turn over to this book and we look at our fabric, and in your fabric number 1, you're going to cut 5-inch strips to do your block, but it's going to be an assembly. If you look right over here, it says cut 5-inch strips, and you're going to be using this in your strip assembly unit. So here is your strip assembly, so you'll be sewing another piece of fabric on there, and when you get finished, you're going to have 7 by 7-inch blocks, but this part is only going to be 4 1/2 inch by 4 1/2 inch in that little block, because you'll lose a 1/2 inch in your seam allowance when you assemble it. So although the finished size block is 7 by 7, we want to look at 4 1/2 inches. Now we didn't put 1/2 inches on here, so we're going to guesstimate 4.5, that it would be about right there, right in between the 4 and the 5.
I don't know about you, but every time I look at this fabric, I get grin.
Yes, it makes me laugh too. They just look like they don't have a care in the world. Okay, we're going to go over here and we're going to do our 4.5 by 4.5. Isn't it cool? It's kind of like you're just sliding it into place. And that's what you're going to get in your topsy-turvy pattern. And to show you in real life, here's the quilt. All made up with Counting Sheep is the name of this quilt pattern. I mean this quilt kit. Adorable. Now, if you wanted to use it, because again, every time you use a 3-yard quilt pattern, you need 3 yards of fabric, and it will work with any one of my over 100 patterns. So if you want to make a quilt, you can find a block that works for you. So let's say you want to see more of these because you want to giggle even more than John does when he looks at these sheep. So if you wanted to go to a 7-inch block, let's move it up and let's match our 7 here and here and there and there. And there's what you would see. And we have some quilts that go up to 10 inches. So let's go ahead and move it up to 10 inches and 10 inches. And you would see the whole flock. Isn't that cute? So it's a fun way to make a decision on which kind of pattern you want to use whenever you're selecting your fabrics to go with your patterns. And later in the week, I think we've decided Thursday, we're going to be doing a Stash Buster class. And that's going to be talking about putting colors together. And we'll revisit this again then so that you can see how it works whenever you start pulling your fabrics together and you can check to see your sizes of your blocks. Now, a quick little look and see on this one. With this particular quilt kit, here they are. It's called Counting Sheep. And that one ends up with a 4.5-inch block. Cute, cute, cute. And it's a $32 kit. These are our product numbers, so you can find this on our website, fabriccafe.com. And it is $32. And you get all 3 fabrics and a free pattern. If you want to purchase 3 kits, you will get a free book when you buy 3 kits. And if you look at this particular book, it's called 3-Yard Quilts for Kids. That one has 2 of the patterns I was just talking about. The Perfect Pets, and it has the cat and the dog, and then the topsy-turvy. And if you've never seen the inside, here's your cat. And remember, the cats are about 8 inches tall, and the puppy dog about 8 inches. He's about 7.5, I think. But the blocks themselves are 10 inches. So it'd be cute as it could be to have your cat fabric here, and your cat is a silhouette, maybe out of the darkest color. So that is Quilts for Kids.
Well, I think one interesting thing that you haven't pointed out is the fact that all of our patterns include the border and the binding with them. So if you're new to 3-yard quilting, that's an important thing with this.
Yes, it is. And when you do the economy binding, and we have a blog on how to do that, it's a little bit different, but it takes only 1/4 yard of fabric rather than a 1/2 yard. So that's a good point, John. It makes everything you see on the front, your borders, your binding, and your quilt top. This is called Summer Breeze. Let's get it all spread out here. So we've got Summer Breeze. It's a $29 kit, and it has 7-inch blocks. So let's show this one. And this is using the Pinwheel +1 pattern, and that is a 7-inch finished block. So in the pattern, it's going to say cut 7.5, but we're only going to look at 7 because 1/2 inch is in the borders on that particular one. Now, and notice too, let's go back over here, that these have half square triangles. And I'm going to show you a little bit more about that because it's kind of interesting when you start thinking, do I want to put this in a half square triangle? And I'll show you how to see what it will look like in a half square triangle. So we're going to put this back here. And we'll open this up. And we'll do our 7-inch measurement. And once again, we're going to take it down to the bottom. We're going to cover up our selvage because we don't want that to interfere with our 7-inch block. You line up the 7 here and the 7 there, and the 7 here and the 7 there. Now, what if you were looking at this and you thought, well, maybe I want this to be the half square triangle, because that's the other thing about the 3-yard quilts. You can use any fabric in any position and you'll get a sharp looking quilt. Now, I have this piece, and I told you you want one straight edge. If you want to know, excuse me, if you want to know what it's going to look like as a pinwheel, then you can lay this right on top of that and you can see what it will look like if it were in the pinwheel. If you want to see what the other half looks like, it would be like this. Now, I chose to use this fabric as the pinwheel because I like smaller prints. I think it looks really nice, but there's no reason you couldn't use your bigger print if you wanted. And I always tell people there's really no right or wrong in quilting. There's just preferences. So if you prefer something different, it's just because that's your preference. It's not because it's right or wrong. So I actually have put larger prints in half square triangles and loved it. But if you want to see every bit of it, then you would do a larger block with the larger print. This is the quilt kit. We'll put that like so. And it is called Summer Breeze. It's a $29 kit, and it comes with the Pinwheel Plus One pattern. Now, Pinwheel Plus One is only available as a pattern unless you get the downloadable 3-yard quilt book called Quick and Easy. We've had several people that have asked for the download to be their free pattern, their free book, and you can do that if you want, because our first 2 books are no longer in print. So if you want one of the downloadable versions so you can complete your collection, it is okay for you to request the downloadable, and we have a way of getting that to you. So this one is Pinwheel Plus One. The individual pattern will come free with the kit, or you can get the downloadable version of Quick and Easy 3-yard quilts, which is no longer in print. Now we're going to go up to a little bit bigger block now. And this one, oh, I'm sorry, not a bigger. This is a 7-inch. It's the same size. So this one is called Call of the Wild, and it has the wolves and the Indian paintbrush flowers. And we did these as companion pieces. We've got the red and the gray, and this is called Call of the Wild. I've used the dash pattern, and the dash pattern does come with the kit, or you can get the Easy Peasy book, and it has the dash pattern included in the Easy Peasy book. Now let's do our cropping here. And by the way, in the graphics arena, this is called a cropping tool, and it just helps you to see how something would look. I've been in the printing industry long enough that I sometimes forget. Well, I turned that over and I didn't need to. Here, you like seeing fabric just kind of fluffing around, right? All right. So now we're going to do a 7-inch square. So it tells you in the pattern to cut a 7.5 for the block, but we are going to do a 7. So we'll put our cropping tool right here and here. And again, remember, you just match up this 7 with this 7, and you've got an example of what it will look like in the square. The other thing is you cannot fussy cut with the 3-yard quilt kit because there's just enough fabric for you to do it the way we tell you. So your wolves are going to change a little. So if you notice right there is where I'm going to cut it. The next one that I cut is going to be like this. So they're not going to be always in the center the way that one almost fell exactly in the center, which is pretty cool. And some of them will. So what if you wanted a 10-inch? If you wanted a 10-inch, you just move your 10s together there, and you can see what it looks like. And although that looks nice, I just really liked the 7 whenever I was choosing this particular pattern. I thought it cropped very nicely. So now we have the Call of the Wild, and that is a 3-yard quilt kit, and you get the dash pattern free with that. Now, even though I tell you the name of the pattern that you get free, you can pick any pattern you want. Any $5.99 pattern is free when you buy the kit. You just tell us which one you want. The next quilt that we're going to do, oh, I didn't show you the quilt. Here's the quilt that I did with the 7-inch block, and this one is called Dash. I like this quilt. It's a bold statement. And if you've got someone that loves wolves, I mean, there are actually, you know, the Save the Wolves Foundation and stuff like that, and it's just an extra nice quilt for a gift for someone like that. The next one is the quilt kit that's called Family Time. Let's look at the 3 fabrics here. Now we did porch rails on this one, and it has a 7-inch block. And this one especially, I'm going to show you what happens if you cut it up too much. You're going to lose a lot of your words. If you make it larger, you'll see more of the words. This particular one is called Family Time. It's a $34 kit. It makes an excellent gift for our friends or family. It's like saying it with a quilt. And this is my line of fabric that I curated with Quilting Treasures fabric. You have a comment that's funny?
Yeah. Penny Dalton just announced that her birthday is the 21st, and she loves to have fabric. Well, happy early birthday, Penny.
That's great, Penny. Well, happy early birthday, and I hope you get everything you desire. All right, let's put these over here. And let's see what happens when we change the size of the block with the Friends and Fabric. Friends and Fabric. Hey, I'll have to do another line called Friends and Fabric. No, that's great. All right, we're going to crop off the selvage. We're going to put this like here, and it is a 7-inch block. So we match up our 7s there, and we match this 7 up here. And you can see friends and family, friends. You can see the word, well, you don't see the word love here. But let's move it so we can see the words love. Where's love? Oh, there you go. There's love, family, and friends. So let's see. There's one. And if you move it over, it's going to be about there, and you'll see your love words. There's other places in here where love is written in different scripts. Now this particular quilt it's a 7-inch block, and we did it in porch rails. This is what it looks like. And this is the one that I did as an example. You can purchase the gray fabric that says Friends and Family for your backing if you'd like. It is a special order. You just go in and find the gray and order 3 yards, and it'll be enough for the backing. So it's one of our premium backings. So it's a great way, even if you don't use the Friends and Family on the front, it's a great way to say I love you to friends and family by putting it on the back. And that's a 7-inch block. What happens if we go up to a 10? So here's our 10, and we'll match our 10 here and our 10 there, and you get lots of words in there. And I do have a couple of quilts where I use this in a larger block. One of the quilts that I'm going to show you in a few minutes is I have to peek. I've already forgotten. It's a 6 by 10. So it would be 10 inches that way and 6 inches. This was a 10 here. I have to figure out what I'm doing. And the 6 here.
Overlap the 10s and the 6.
Right. Sorry, I hadn't planned this as part of my talk, so I had to think, oh, now wait a minute, what am I doing? But that's another way, and I'll be showing you that quilt. I think it's about 3 down from here. But that's another way to do your sizing if you wanted to do a rectangle. This one would work nicely for that. I'll show that quilt in just a minute for the rectangular block. Now the next one is, this one is called Pretty Posies, and this one is going to be an 8-inch block. So we'll look at the 8-inch block on that, and then we'll show you what happens if you make it smaller or larger. These are the 3 fabrics that you get with Pretty Posies. And let's look at the quilt. This one is called Overnight Sensation, and it's in my book, Easy Does It? Easy Peasy. No, it's an Easy Does It. We do make mistakes on our signs. We don't make mistakes in our patterns, though. But it's Pretty Posies is.
We got half the name.
Okay, we got the name right of Pretty Posies. The rest of it, let's try again. It's Overnight Sensation. We've been working hard, guys. Okay, it's in the Fast and Fun book. No, it's not either. Oh, wow. I think I'm getting slap happy here. Easy Does It. It's an Easy Does It, yes. Is it Monday all over again?
Yep.
And here's the pattern, and it's called Overnight Sensation. So that's the book that it's in. It's not available as an individual pattern. You would have to take a different pattern if you just want a pattern. Otherwise, buy 3 of any kit and you can get a book free. But I like this one. It's called Overnight Sensation because it has great big blocks. And what we do on this one is we consider this the whole block right there. It's actually a 16-inch finished block if you measure from here to here. But because it's only one component in the block, this one is going to be 8 inches by 8 inches. So let's show you that. Put this over here. If Janet George is watching, you can rest assured, Janet, we need you because you're our proofreader. Janet makes sure that we don't make these mistakes. But these we do every day. We come to the office and we put these shows together, and sometimes we get kind of rushed. So my apologies for the mistakes. All right. So on this one, if we were doing, what size did I say the block was? 8 inches. It's 8 inches. Okay, we're doing an 8-inch block. It's there. And we match up our 8s here. So there's an 8, and there's an 8, and there's the block that you're going to get. And this one would be another one that would be cool if you wanted to do an 8 by 10. And again, if you want to do a rectangle, you would do your 8 and your 10 together, and your 8 and your 10 together, and that gives you your rectangle. If you wanted to do a 10 by 10 pattern, and we have lots of those as well, then you'd get a block like that. But what if you wanted to, you think you want to do a 3-inch? Let's take it down to a 3-inch block. That would be something like our 9-patch pattern. You would get just a little bit like this. But what would be cool is if you're doing a 9-patch, this would be sprinkled all the way through your quilt, and it would look really cool because you'd have a little bit different fabric in every one of your squares. So that's a cool way to do it too. All right, that is Overnight Sensation in the Easy Does It book. Is where the pattern is, and the kit is available for $29 at fabriccafe.com. The next quilt we're going to do is, I'm getting too many pieces of paper over here. This is going to be the Beautiful Blooms. It's recommended for the Sew Quick pattern online. And if you're going to look, I mean, when I show you this quilt, you're going to see it's not made out of Sew Quick deliberately. The pattern that it's made out of is called City Lights, and it's only available in the Fast and Fun book. And this is what it looks like. City Lights, Fast and Fun book. And this one has a 9-inch block. So let's look at that. If you don't want to do the book, then you can use Sew Quick. It's a really nice book. So here's the fabric. The fabric is a beautiful fabric from Kaufman. All right, let's see. It's a 9-inch, so let's move our 9 down. We want to always leave off the selvage, and the 9-inch in the pattern, it tells you to cut 9.5, but you're not going to put your seam allowance in this. Now we'll match up our 9 and our 9 and our 9 and a 9, and you can see that's the size your block will be. And if you refer back over here, you can see that's just about what you see over here in the quilt. Now, if you wanted to do a smaller block on this one, let's talk about that, because if you did a 3-inch, again, we do our 3-inch block, you would just get a little bit of the quilt. So whatever your preference is, would you rather see more or less? If you were doing that 9-patch, like I said, this would look quite pretty. It would be scattered all over the quilt in little pieces, but that's quite pretty.
Or maybe you were breaking the rules and moving your fabric positions around.
That's true too.
And on City Lights, you put this into that 3-inch block.
Oh, that's a good idea. You could do that. And then a lot of times your smaller pieces in a quilt pattern will end up being the border on, let's look at this. I'll show you. So if you were to do Garden Path, let's look at Garden Path. This is Garden Path, and the number 1 position would be the big flower, and the darkest is going to be in the border. But if you wanted to switch them around and put the flower, this flower, in the number 3 position, then it becomes your border, and the little squares, like John was saying, that's going to be a 3-inch block, and your darker block would be in the middle. So it'd be a different look. And that's what's cool about the 3-yard quilts, is you can get a different look out of the same exact pattern just by moving your fabrics around. I've had several people that said they did things like that for twins. They used the same fabric and made the 2 quilts, but they use different patterns or rearrange the fabrics, and then they put different backings so the kids would learn which one was theirs. So I thought that was pretty cool. So as you know, we are going to have twins here with Jessica. If you saw that segment, I wanted to show you this kit. So we're excited about that. She's having a boy and a girl, and these are our 3 fabrics for this kit. And here we go. So those are my 3 fabrics. And here. And so you can either use the city lights out of the Fast and Fun book, or you can do Sew Quick as an individual pattern. Last but not least is our dragonfly quilt. Now this one is this one's called Dragonfly Delight. Let's go ahead and spread these out so that you can see them. Isn't that pretty? I just love these. These are just very pleasing to my senses. This is using Brick Street in Fast and Fun. You can use it with other patterns as well, like the Sew Quick. Sweet Times would be a real pretty one with this one as well. But we're talking about Brick Street. It is in the Fast and Fun book, and this is the one that is a 6 by 10 block. So let's block that out for you to see. Open it up and get our selvages up here where we can see them. This is a beautiful Quilting Treasures fabric. We're going to go down to the bottom, and remember, you're going to be trimming this off, making it straight. So I always start it in a little bit different spot. I'm going to pull it down to, let's see, we're going to do a 6 by 10. I guess I have to do my 10 this way. So let's do the 10 first, that way, and then we're going to match up our 6 this way. The 6 and the 10, and there we have it. We've matched our 6 and our 10 and our 6, and we're matching our 10 and our 6 over here, and that's the size block you're going to have. Now if you wanted to do it in a bigger size, like you wanted to maybe do Sweet Times, which has a 10-inch block, then it's going, or Sew Quick has a 10-inch block, then it's going to look like this. I should have dug out my Wonder Clips. This might have been a good way to hold these things together. So use that as a new tip that I just made up. Use your Wonder Clips to hold these together if you want.
Or I was even thinking taking a lightweight rubber band and putting it from corner to corner.
Oh, and then you can make, we come up with these things on the fly, let me tell you. That's a good idea. We'll have to show that.
Thursday. Yeah,
we'll show that on Thursday, after we test it to see if it works. But I do understand what you're saying, John. So this is a 10-inch block now. Now, back again to what we've been talking about. If you wanted to do a 3-inch, would it work? Well, it might cut your little dragonflies up quite a bit. So if you were to put this in a 3-inch block, it would look like that. But you would get you'd get almost a whole one. He might work in a 4-inch block, might be okay if you wanted to do a smaller one. Remember back in the Skip to My Lou, that particular pattern? So you could do a smaller one, but with something this big and beautiful, it just seems like it ought to be larger. Like here's an 8-inch here. And whenever I was talking to you earlier about half square triangles, here's an example of what would happen if you put this in a half square triangle. You would get parts of them, but you wouldn't get it completely. And here's a quilt where I did use a floral in the half square triangle, and it was a little bit smaller floral, and I thought it looked good. I guess I could hold the whole quilt up, couldn't I? This is one that we don't have the fabric anymore, but it is one from, here, let me turn this over. There you go. This is Through the Window again. And it's made so that you can actually make a half square triangle with your florals and give you an idea. So I hope you've enjoyed today's presentation. We had a lot of fun putting it together, and the way to pick out the pattern that you want is to play with something like this. There's not a lot of investment in some poster board or mat board, and you just create one of these little guys and you can have so much fun looking at your fabric. So it's Donna Robertson with Fabric Cafe. See you tomorrow at 4, and then the same the rest of the week. Have a good one.